All right. He says I'm a mean old woman. All I wanna do is argue all the time. He says I'm a mean old woman. All I wanna do is argue all the time. Oh, it didn't tell you what he did to put the blues on my mind. There you go.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Mickey Leon here with District of Curves. So, I know y'all just saw that clip if you're watching live on any of the platforms. So, that is our special guest tonight, Carly Harvey. So, it's going to be awesome having her here. Carly is such an amazing person. But first of all, this today's episode, what DOC Live, we have a sponsor for today, and our sponsor for today is Full Figure State University. Let me show you that. All right, yeah. So Full Figure State University, that is by my man Chris Rucker. He was a model in our 2024 show, our 10-year anniversary show, and he has an apparel line. So that is the information right there. You all go and check him out. He is also a sponsor for our DLC pool party that is going to happen on July 12th. All right. So now I'm going to bring on our special guest, Miss Carly Harvey.
Hi.
Hey,
Hello.
Carly. All right, y'all. So y'all have seen us posting the magazine cover all month, celebrating Black Music Month. And Carly Harvey has been our featured model this month. She's the first person on our very first magazine cover. Y'all saw that digital cover, and the shoot with her was just amazing. Carly is very talented. She plays instruments, all of that. I can't even do like a intro that does her justice. So I'm gonna let Carly give a brief intro of herself, and then we're gonna go straight into our interview.
Okay, well, you did a great job. I'm Carly Harvey, also known as DC's Queen of the Blues. I'm a blues and jazz musician, or I like to refer to myself as a bluesologist. So I do a little tasty cocktail of like a blues fusion of something. So I typically fuse like blues and funk, or blues and rock, blues and jazz, and I'm advocating for black bodies in blues music because it is a African American creation, and so it's a real honor to be featured for Black Music Month on District of Curves magazine. It was
Yeah.
really special to be the first.
Well, I appreciate you for, letting me have my vision, you know what I mean? And just work with you on it. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it was I mean, it was great. I hope your vision was like, I hope it was everything you wanted it to be, because it was a dream for me. So
It was great. Like your energy is awesome.
oh,
So
thank you.
all right, y'all. So, we're gonna get into Carly's background, music, and just kind of what her inspiration is, for all of those things. So we have the interview up on the DOC platform, districtofcurves.com. If you go there, you can read her responses. But I also thought it was important to be able to have like a live video for people who, they're more visual, right?
Yeah.
So wanted to do that. So, tell us a little bit about like your earliest memory of music. What was it like in your household growing up?
I can't remember a time where there wasn't music in my house. So both of my parents are musicians, or were musicians. My dad was a funk bassist, and my mom was a singer. She did lots of jazz, but also some theater. And so my earliest memories are like this, like awesome concoction of like Tower of Power and Curtis Mayfield and the Eagles and Billie Holiday and Cab Calloway and Ella Fitzgerald, like and Santana and Celia Cruz, like all. all mashed into one. And yeah, like I just grew up with with it all around me, like all the time. And I'm self taught on piano and guitar. While my parents were musicians, they were like not sitting down with patience to teach their strange Virgo child. Like my dad was like, "Here's a book, figure it out." And I was like, "This book sucks," so I just used my ear to teach myself, so I could accompany myself when I'm singing. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a talent. My son is the same way. My son, he's now taking piano lessons, but for several years, when he was a lot smaller, he taught himself.
Mm-hmm.
He would just listen to something and then just transpose it onto the piano.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I, it's something we shouldn't take for granted. It's a gift. It's like it's one of the that ear that we have. Not everybody has that ability, so that's a special thing. So your son is, we're gonna have to keep our eyes out, see what he's doing when he gets older.
Yeah, he's got that, and he makes music on his iPad and his laptop and everything. His music and sports, that's his thing.
Mm-hmm. And how
Yeah.
old is he?
He's 13.
13. Oh my goodness! And he's making music on his iPad. Okay.
Yeah, he started making music on his iPad when he was about 6.
Okay, Quincy Jones is gonna be the next big producer.
Yeah, he got a couple pieces that he's written. He performed at his recitals, his
Ooh,
piano recitals, a couple pieces that he's done himself. So it's definitely that ear, that
that's
you guys
awesome.
have for
That's
sure.
awesome.
So all right, so you, in addition to, obviously you're a black woman, but you are also Afro Indigenous with your
Yeah.
heritage. So like, how has that shaped your sound? And I've listened to your album, so I can definitely hear the different things in there. So how has that shaped your sound?
Yeah, well, I grew up, obviously listening to Black American music and Afro Latino music, and also Native American music. So just as much as we were playing like Etta James, we were in ceremony or going to powwows, or we were always listening to like native flute music or singing different melodies and lullabies. So that was sort of like just a constant around me all the time. And I think it's really interesting how you don't notice how certain things like impact you when you get older. But as I got more into my study and performance in jazz, I started noticing that some of my inflections were similar to like native flute music. And I was like, "Oh, I think I'm a flute." Like, like, so there's certain like inflections that you hear when you're listening to like flute music. And this is even from South America, like the Andes Mountains. They're like kind of pan flutes are really similar to flutes you'll hear like from the plains and even in the eastern woodlands. But yeah, I think again the beautiful concoction, the beautiful cocktail, it made me like who I am and how I am, and so it just comes through certainly in my music.
Yeah, no, you can hear it too. The first time I listened to you, people say they make music, right? And so, and I have friends that make some, they have some on iTunes and stuff like that. And, it sounds good, no negative or anything like that. Um, but then I listened to you and I was like, oh, like she's a musician, like she don't need the studio. She doesn't need like all of the extra accompaniment, that comes along with being in the studio and stuff like that, because I mean you perform with a live band and you yourself, like you said, you play the piano, but you brought a couple of guitars to the studio when we
Yes, I
shot, you
did.
know.
I brought my dad's bass with me. That was really special to do that photo shoot with his bass. It's a highly coveted bass that lots of, because I wouldn't call myself a bass player. I can play bass and I can play it and I have a basic understanding, but I don't play it out with my band, so it's a very
Right,
special heirloom. And, bass players would come to my house and be like, "Are you going to sell that?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not."
right.
But yeah, um, it's a it's really special to do that photo shoot because the album I just released is so heavily influenced by like bass lines I learned from my dad and like songs that I wrote around like bass lines that he gave me. So it's kind of like it was our little collaboration, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk about the album. Talk about the album. What went into that? What is that like? I believe you told me that's your first like studio full length album.
Yeah, it's my first full length album. I've got a couple of EPs out and then I've got some like crossover work with some producer in Italy. Shout out to Taste of Dreams. But this is like my personal debut album. And it's really special to me because it's some of the songs I wrote like 10 years ago and like the way they evolved, especially as I evolved as an artist. So it was a really awesome journey, like even just rediscovering myself through singing songs that I've grown from, right? Especially when they're dealing with like heartache, or uh, things where like perhaps I was in like a more toxic space, just not ready to move on from things. And so to have grown from that place and to sing that song, it's almost like I was singing it to like the younger version of me. So it was really special. You guys can see the album art down there. So I sort of like came up with what I wanted the album art to look like. So the album has Native American music and it has blues, right? So it starts out with Delta blues because that's where we know like the blues started, right, in the South in the Delta. So it starts out with Delta blues and Native vocables over it, and then we go through the Great Migration. So we move up to like Chicago, sort of like electric blues, right? So the next song is a more like upbeat, electrified blues, and then after that, it kind of goes into like the different branches of blues. So you see like the roots in the artwork, right? And then the album is kind of like the blues family tree. So you go from the root of blues and then to all the branches that it derives. Like, so all the derivative things, like, so you've got blues funk and blues rock and blues jazz and soul blues. And even there's a folk blues song on the album also. So it's a little blues family tree and the evolution of it, and then it kind of circles back to the beginning. By the end of the album we have some flute music, and then I'm responding, we're doing like call and response, and I'm responding to him with like blues riffs, and he's like responding to me with like little riffs on the flute. So it's kind of like draws that parallel of like where my blues comes from. So it's really special, very personal, and I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of this album.
Yeah, I mean it takes you on a journey. Like listening to it, it really does. It takes you on a journey. If you just kind of let yourself go,
Yeah.
and just hear it, and then also, I can hear a little bit of a similar sound to an artist that we have in common that we both love,
Oh,
Miss Amy Winehouse, right?
oh yes.
Like, and that just, not that you sound like her, but like anybody that's an Amy Winehouse fan, that her sound is different,
Yeah.
you know, and just you're similar in that respect,
Oh,
So
that's a big compliment to me. And yeah, our styles are not the same, but I felt I related to her so much in her she was really young and people would underestimate her before she like really like broke through. And her first album is like straight up like groove jazz, and then she kind of evolved, but she was so dedicated to like pushing the envelope while honoring the art for what it is. And so um and that's definitely what I'm trying to do here. I want to honor the root of blues and honor the root of jazz, while evolving, modernizing, pushing it forward. And also because I do like lectures and classes on the origin of blues and the Native American intersection at its origin, um, when we see genres like blues and jazz, which come from the Black experience, like kind of in the mainstream, dominated by non-Black audiences and non-Black artists, I am the embodiment of, in its untouched form, it still is what it is, and there are no heroes. There's no hero like that saved the blues or saved the jazz. We are still making blues and making jazz and creating and being artists and loving our traditional ancestral music. So that's really important to me.
Definitely. So, touching on, like you said, you speak, you teach, you work with different people. You also teach children, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So what would you say to like a young artist, somebody that has that, like somebody like my son, right? Or even my daughter who also is learning guitar. Like, what would you say to them if they said, Miss Carly, I want to be in the industry. I want to have my own sound. I want to stand on that, and not sound like somebody else. I want to sound like me. Like, what advice would you give to somebody young that's breaking into it?
I would tell them to um, take time discovering who they are and what they like. I think sometimes we really often want like an end result. We want to run before we crawl. So like part of the journey is the crawling and the walking and the stumbling, right? So if there's like type of music that they feel really drawn to, study it, listen to it, mimic, interpret, and then sit with yourself and create something that's inspired by it, but that is not copying. And then that's how you discover what your sound is. It's almost like a light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, that's what I do. And who knows when that will happen, so you just have to really take your time doing it. And then from that point you can start to make music and create from an authentic place, as opposed to like you're copying everything or you're trying to just fit in and do what everybody else is doing, because then you don't stand out and that doesn't make a career for longevity, right? Like if you sound like every other person, you could have a hit and then nobody remembers your name.
Right.
Yeah, that's my advice.
So what was it like getting into teaching kids though? I mean, I know kids can be fun, but kids can also be a challenge, you
Yes.
know. And so what was that like for you?
Well, when I graduated from college, I had been a judge for a battle of the bands for a music school, and the owner of that music school had me perform during the um, halftime of the sort of battle of the band. And after he saw me perform, he said, "Are you classically trained?" And I was like, "Yeah." So he's like, "So you're gonna have a degree in vocal music performance when you graduate?" And I said, "Yeah." And this was like the semester before I graduated. And so he said, "Okay, well, you have a job when you graduate. Just reach out to me." So I immediately had a job teaching voice lessons when I graduated college. And it was like, there are children. I had some adult students, which was really cool. But I was like immediately putting my degree into work. Um, and so it wasn't like, oh, I just want to make money. I think I've always been passionate about teaching, but it was like I learned and grew with those young students. And so I think sometimes the way I teach, because the way I started teaching was with teaching young kids. So I kind of just have this like youthful approach that like I want them to be engaged. I want them to have fun. I never want it to feel forced. And so kids are really awesome one on one. A whole group of them is a
It's
different story.
yeah, it's the group thing.
Yeah, but one
Yeah.
on one, like you really just see them, who they are. They want to connect. They want to be seen. They want to be understood. And I just take my time, understanding their personalities and how they learn and what type of things they want to learn. And it's been so fulfilling to help young people reach their goals and to like see themselves as young musicians.
What ages do you teach?
For voice lessons, I don't typically start before like 10, but like if they want to learn stuff like musical timing, I'll do easy stuff with like maybe a 7-year old, but not younger than that. For piano, I can teach as young as 5 years old. Guitar, you need like a little bit more like dexterity.
Yeah.
So, I usually start guitar around 10. Um, so, or I'll say like if if they want to learn music but they're still so young, I'll say learn piano first because it's instant gratification. You
Hmm.
press the note and then it's there, as opposed to like guitar where you need position and you need like strength in your fingers and things like that. So
Yeah, my daughter is learning about that strength in the fingers and trying to build up, like the callus on her fingers and everything like that. She
yeah.
she practices a lot, but she's like complaining, not like I don't want to do this, but complaining like this hurts.
Yes, it does, and then eventually it doesn't hurt at all. Like I barely feel it, but like I don't know, where's the camera? I've got little calluses like just at the tips, but they're not undainty, but some people have like big bubbles that are, so I still, you can still be cute. I've got a cute little manicure. But yeah, it builds up and then eventually it feels like nothing. So you got a little tiny bit of growing pains at first.
That's what her teacher told her. So,
Yes.
all right. So we are going to talk a little bit about the photo shoot for the magazine, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, let's get into that. So, for those of y'all that don't know, Carly also modeled for District of Curves. The first time I met Carly was 2019 at the mall. You auditioned at the mall show, I believe, right?
I did.
Yeah, that was right before COVID. We had a
Hmm.
show at Pentagon City, and that is where I met Carly.
Yep.
And so, went through that, and you came back for the 2023 show, which is when we got back, into doing things. You shot for my After Dark photos. So you've been doing your thing. But this shoot here, and we shot, also before like a shoot that wasn't in the magazine or anything like that. But this shoot here, what was that like for you? It was fun for me. Obviously you can see the looks we have, but what was
Yeah.
that like?
It was so fun. I think, like I mentioned, you posted a video. You really understand the angles needed because I've had people do photos of me and it's like, what? I'm like, why do you post that up? That's not good. But like, you know which angles to do. You understand like it's like facial angles, but also like the curve of the body. And so it was such a good experience because I've modeled with other people before and or done photo shoots or print work, and like it's almost like sometimes it's like self-directed, so it's a little bit awkward and you give just enough to like so that the right moment is captured where a person isn't like okay, like,
Yeah,
okay. Like, so one, you are really amazing at what you do, and
thank you.
I'm super just honored to have been part of District of Curves, for so long. I love the platform that it is, especially as we're moving into an era where like fat shaming is coming back in style. And
Yeah.
like, it's like we can't have that. We all need to love ourselves where we are, right?
Oh, I think she
And
froze.
wearing
There she goes.
Walmart. Winnie the Pooh shirts. And so, what this platform does, or what District of Curves does, is without saying a whole bunch of words, it's advocating for body positivity and providing a platform to like celebrate fashion and self expression. Um, and your photography just amplifies that because you are going to photograph these women in the best possible, flattering, sexy, beautiful way. So that photo shoot was a dream for me. It was a really really great experience, and
Well,
yeah,
I
I think it's
appreciate
my favorite.
I appreciate that. You know, I when I started DOC as well as shooting plus size women, because I was a photographer before in college, you know, making money in the club, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I started shooting plus size women, largely it was because I would see photos and everything you see is sexual, right? When a woman has a body, has curves, you know, it's all sexual. And, you know, I was like, it doesn't have to be like that. Or you would see, I would hear people complain about photographers that shot them and the angles weren't right, like you said, or it wasn't, you know, it just wasn't flattering. But those same photographers would have straight size girls, as we call them in the industry, straight size, and those pictures would look amazing,
Hmm.
you know, and you could really kind of see in the work like the almost the disdain for like a plus size body.
Hmm.
And so, you know, I would always say jokingly that like if you don't like plus size women, if you don't find plus size women attractive, then you shouldn't shoot them, because how are you gonna we don't we don't take pictures and videos of things that don't move us. You know, photography is an art form as well. So you don't
Hmm.
take pictures of things that don't move you, you know, you just don't. So if that plus size woman doesn't do anything for you, it doesn't have to be like sexual, but like you can't admire her and appreciate like her body and everything, then how are you going to shoot it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because how are you going to know if it looks good? Because
Yeah.
they all look, if you don't like them, then they all look bad to you. So then
Hmm.
what do you, you know, what do you base it off of? You know,
Then
I'm
it's like
self-taught.
just accept whatever, just what I'll just do whatever, and that should be acceptable.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
self-taught with photography. You know, I mean, I've taken a couple of courses here and there, especially the free ones that come when you buy a new camera. But I'm self-taught. So I know the rules of photography, but I know them enough so that I can break them. You know, and but my work comes from what I see visually. Like when I
Okay.
shoot you, I want the world to see what I see, you know. So, and that's always been like my take on it. So I'm glad that you had a good experience and that you know, enjoyed yourself. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I loved it. And you played Amy Winehouse, my favorite. So
I
like
did. I
I was
did.
just like feeling good vibes, and on my instruments I was also trying to like figure out the songs. So you got you got some cool videos of me like on the bass, like what is this bass like? You know,
I did.
and
I did. I'm
it
gonna drop
actually
that
turned
behind the
out like
scenes
I was
too.
like, ooh, this is cool. It
So
looks
the
good.
cover, the digital cover, I wasn't able to pull it up in here in this format. I need to re-export it. But y'all got to go to Instagram and check out the digital cover. I got so many messages and just so much feedback on that cover. So
Hmm.
like if y'all haven't seen it, it's the magazine cover, but it's also videos of her, you know, moving within the cover, like throughout the shoot. And it was really cool to do. And you just looked like you were having such a good time. And then on Instagram, you know, I put one of your songs with it, and
Hmm.
you know, it just kind of brought it to life. So you know, that was definitely a cool experience.
It was so dope. Like that photo that's up right now. Oh my goodness. Like if my dad was alive, he would be like, "Give me my bass back." No, but I mean, that was just it was I was not expecting like the moving photos. Like it was very very cool. Like I was like, I'm the first. Like
Yeah, and so that was my vision before we even shot, right? For to have the moving cover, which is why you saw me there with my little camera, like getting the behind the scenes footage, because I knew what I wanted it to look like, you know. So
Yeah. It looked so good. That's yeah, I love that. Everything we did was just so great. And you're always like so professional. Like I mean, I feel like I'm here tooting your horn, but like it's just you're always comfortable and professional, and
I
I mean
appreciate it. I just
you're my go-to photographer. Where with my star rises, I'll be like, well, calling Nikki.
call me. I always want people to be comfortable. I work with a lot of women. As you know, I'm in fashion. I do lingerie shoots too. Done fully nude shoots. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, we have.
yeah, yeah. So, you were comfortable there too. And it's like
Yeah.
it's important for people to be comfortable. Like I heard so many horror stories all the time about photographers that are hitting on the models and stuff like that. And it's just like y'all messing it up for like everybody,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Which
I
is
had a
the other thing there, like, right, where like yeah, if there's like a sleazy photographer or somebody who's not really professional, or they're only doing that profession, that means they're probably not good at what they do. They're in that profession so they can like look at people, or something. I don't know. Um, but one, that means like the quality of work is gonna suffer. But two, it keeps people from the beautiful experience of like that kind of what's the word, that space of self-love where you can say I can be nude on camera and love every curve of my body just the same as like the straight size models, or I don't know what you call the opposite of straight, that on the other end, like these like very very skinny people, which kind of, in my opinion, I'm like that feels like unhealthily thin that they're kind of pushing out there, especially right now.
little
Um,
bit.
So those people can have their sexy photos, right? Those people can have their, you know, nude photos, and it's art, right? And it kind of takes away from the curvy body size person when they can't have a safe experience. So it's just really awesome that we get to have that experience with a photographer like you.
I appreciate it. And so I will say I got a comment from on YouTube, EW Images. That's my man Eric, and we've been friends since the first DLC in 2014. And he's a photographer, and so for a photographer to compliment another photographer, like that's a big thing. Photographers can be divas, kind of like makeup artists and hairstylists and barbers and stuff like that. Like if we compliment another person in our field, it's because we really are like feeling their
Appreciate.
work. Yeah,
Yeah. Same for musicians. I do not give out compliments
and I believe
easily.
it. But like my man Eric, he's another photographer in the area who works with all sizes, and he's a great guy too. Like he's a good photographer, um very professional, and his work has just come up so much like over the years. And so I just appreciate his comment there too.
I mean,
um but so I am not going to keep you too much longer because you are a musician. As you said, you are on a different time zone than me right now.
yep, I'm on
um
West Coast right now.
Yeah, I think you out there for work, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this woman is always working, always working. Um, so tell everybody where they can find you. Obviously I have your information is plastered all over DOC right now, your face and everything. But still, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, my website is carlyharvey.com. That's Carly with a C and no E. So carlyharvey.com is my website. Carly Harvey Music on all of the socials, including Snapchat. I'm on there sometimes just playing with filters. But TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, I'm there as Carly Harvey Music. So you can go to my website. I also have if you go to the contact page on my website, there's an option for you to opt in for text marketing. So you text Carlyfied to the number that's there on the contact page, and then when I have shows in your area, you'll get a text message, or if I'm doing something really cool and want to let people know. So that's how you can reach me. And my new album is called Kamama. It's on all platforms right now except for Spotify, and that's a whole different other story. But if you want to support me as an artist, you can get the album on Bandcamp, because Bandcamp, of all the streaming platforms, gives the artist 90% of
Oh wow.
our
Okay.
revenue. So the other ones are giving us pennies. Bandcamp is giving us 90%. So yeah,
All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. Bandcamp, CarlyHarvey.com, Carly Harvey Music. You have any merchandise or anything like that?
I have vinyl.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so I've got, well, for the older folks, I do have CDs, but vinyl's a new hot commodity. So I've got vinyl. I've got some T-shirts and like face masks, and we're gonna get stickers soon, and tote bags. So be on the lookout for that as well.
All right, that's what's up, y'all. Definitely support Carly. Check out the feature on districtofcurves.com. Check out the album cover, the magazine cover, on our Instagram, on her Instagram, on our website. Like, it's awesome. I'm glad to have been able to put it out there, man.
Yeah,
So,
so cool.
but
I need
again,
it to be on my website too. We're gonna work on that.
I'm gonna get you what you need, but it's just awesome. I just had to get off my ass and do it. I
Yeah,
had to get
glad
off my
you
ass and do it.
did. I can't wait to see what else you do with it. I can't wait to see the other features, and see how far you're gonna go. It's just, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, all right, y'all. I am gonna speak real quick about some upcoming things that we have going on. Carly, I'm gonna take you off the screen real quick. Um,
Bye.
so thank you again. It's awesome having you. And I will connect with you in just a second. But real quick, y'all. I am going to show y'all so y'all know. One more time, just in case y'all know. All right. So July 12th, we are having our pool party. Very first pool party for the DMV area, District of Curves. Me, my team, we have been wanting to have a pool party for so long. And the opportunity presented itself, and we are having it July 12th in Gaithersburg, Maryland. You get the address after you buy your ticket, and that is in keeping with the privacy policies of the location. But as y'all see right there on the screen, $10 off with the code DLC Pool Party. That code lasts for a limited time. So it is good through June 30th or until the code runs out. And what I mean by that, there's a certain number of tickets that will be able to be sold with that code. So, and they are moving. So if y'all coming, I need y'all to go ahead and get those tickets and come. Need to know how much food we're going to have, how much drink to bring, all that good stuff. But it is a good time. It'll be a good time. We got food, we got drinks, we have photo opportunities. And there is a cash prize for the best swimwear out there. So come dressed to impress, y'all. So y'all see it. DLC Pool Party. That's the code. Get your tickets. Go to districtofcurves.com. Or if you're following us on Instagram, go to the link tree in our bio. And the tickets are there as well. So thank y'all for joining us tonight with this last edition of DLC Live. Y'all will see us. We'll be coming back. I'll have Gabby back up here soon. So we can talk more about the pageant and everything else that is coming along with the pageant. And yeah, that's what it is. So thank y'all and good night. If y'all have questions, hit the DMs on District of Curves website. All right. Thank y'all and good night.